Welcome everybody to the second race of the fifth round of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo here at the Autodromo Vallelunga Piero Taruffi. It is time to watch our Pro-Am and Pro competitors. With such massive grids, we've been able to split the two races. We've just seen another epic encounter from our Lamborghini Cup and Am drivers. And now it's time for the pros to prove their worth in front of Lamborghini's most important people. And as we get closer to the Vallelunga World Finals next weekend. Race 1 this morning was only a couple of hours ago in the beautiful sunshine now, but it was cold and cloudy for race 1. Two almost different days. Usually race 1 and race 2 would be split by days, only split by hours. Track conditions are just a little bit less than we saw for our AMs as we are getting into the second half of the day, although actually it's only 2:30 in the afternoon. A couple of stories to pick up from race 1, mainly that the Brutal Fish Martin Riva and Edoardo Liberati car will not start after damage from qualifying. And also Frederick Schandorf and Alex Au blowing an engine in race 1, but there is their car on the grid for race 2, or is it? It should be on the second row. On the pole position is Loris Spinelli. He was amazing in race 1, miles faster than everybody else. He's got to put down a huge, chunky run. We have our onboard camera with him. Alongside him, though, interestingly, Dan Arrow. We've never seen the Rebellio car quite so high up. Dan Arrow handing that car over to Abby Eaton for the second half of the race. He will be trying as much as he can to put pressure on Loris Spinelli, but an Italian racetrack doesn't get much better. Dan Arrow already focusing. Now, a slightly different coloured nose to Ugo de Vilda's car, because they had big contact with Brendan Leach in race 1 and damaged the front end. They had to limp that car home in race 1 and then got a penalty for it. Alongside, this is Schandorf and Au.
There is also a backup here, everything is set.
Perfect.
Unbelievably, what should be 5 hours has seemingly taken this team about 3 to change the engine and get Schandorf and Au back out onto circuit, which also means that they will be able to continue to fight for that championship. A championship that Brendan Leach does still lead, apparently, by half a point over Michelotto and Jill Stadbatter. They were so strong, but they start down in 9th position for the second encounter with Gilles qualifying. And that has been the story, really, of their whole year. Second races, they've really struggled when Gilles is the starting driver, when Gilles is the qualifier. When Matteo Michelotto, his teammate, qualifies, well, it's been a win, a win, a win, a third, and a win. So we have a full complement, pretty much, of cars for our Pro and Pro-Am fields. Leach, by the way, starts down in 6th position. And we have an onboard camera also with Colombani. Now, Colombani is outside the top 20, so that could be a fun watch after a very strong result in race 1. The cars fire up, getting ourselves ready to go racing for the final time here on Sunday. The circuit doesn't go quiet, though. There's free practice and testing for Asia and America on Monday and Tuesday before we go into qualifying for round 6 for all the championships. And race 1 will be on Thursday, and then race 2 will be on Friday, before we then reset into World Finals mode for the weekend. The Uros rolls away, or grumbles away, I should say, and it will be Loris Spinelli who will head the field. Now, if I was Dan Arrow, I think I'd be quite content to just follow and learn from Loris Spinelli. He looked like he was in a class of his own. A previous World Finals champion, obviously with Andrei Lewandowski, his teammate, a champion too, twice over, I think. Here is the grid. Spinelli and Arrow on the front row. Rebellio by Bonaldi. Remember, it's Bonaldi who run that Rebellio car. Row 2 will be Ugo de Wilde and Fredrik Schandorf. Missing last time out, but back with Alex Au. Bonduelle and Brendan Leach, both with no teammates on row 3. Balthazar and Oliver Soderstrom, who was on the podium in our first race this morning. Then Gilles Stadbatter, who won the race, down in 9th. Peugeot Bea in 10th. Some new teams, some new drivers. Orogiev in 12th position. Cabarou and Jimmy Pla for Scuderia Vorbelia Cosa in 14th. Fabi was up there in the top 10. Mainetti had a problem. Zanon ended up on the podium in Pro-Am. And then Benjamin Vandenberg we saw in the wall in this morning's race. It feels like only a couple of moments ago. Loctano was very strong as well. Chondeveur down in 23rd position. Will hand that car over to Yalma Berman. Colombani down in 25th position with Formanak alongside. Robert Greenwood, a new driver alongside Dougie Bolger. And 28 cars line up as they come around. Now, interestingly, they are doing a second lap in race 1. I'm pretty sure they didn't. Pretty sure they just did the one. But anyway, we're doing a second one now. Nice view. Now we can see out the windscreen from Spinelli's car. Andrei Lewandowski, his teammate, was Pro-Am champion last year, and then Am champion, sorry, 2 years ago, and then Am champion last year. Spinelli was the Pro champion last year, partnering with Max Vering. And then you go back to 2017 and 2018, where he also, well, he won the Pro in 2017, he won the Pro-Am in 18. He won the Pro-Am in 15 as well. Spinelli knows how to drive a Lamborghini. There is no doubt about that. Right then, we are getting ourselves ready to go racing one final time here in Vallelunga on this Sunday. Round 5, race 2. Effectively a replacement race for where we should have raced in Imola at the start of the season as partnership for the opening round of the European Le Mans Series. Championship has announced its 2024 calendar with 3 races alongside the World Endurance Championship next year, including Imola, Spa, and the famous Le Mans 24 hours, would you believe? And then it will rejoin its old friends SRO for Nürburgring and Barcelona. And next weekend we find out where the World Finals will be held. It's been held here 3 times in Vallelunga. Portimao last year. But we've still got round 5 and round 6 to wrap up these championships. Spinelli and Dan Arrow almost touching as they come through Roma. Now they spread out. A little bit of psychology perhaps. They need to be following inside those grid hatchings. Now we go green, now we can go racing. Spinelli has made a good start and he's got De Wilde following on. So I think Dan Arrow might lose a position here coming towards turn 1. He does so. Dan Arrow's on the outside. De Wilde goes through Curva Grande for the first time, and everyone has made it through. Dan Arrow on the outside line. De Wilde is going to go through. No, he gets squeezed. There's a little bit of contact in the middle of the pack. A lot of cars having to go left. And it was, I think, Bonduelle who got sideways. There was a little bit of a tap from someone, and that split the pack. Spinelli with a massive advantage. De Wilde, second. Dan Arrow trying to go around the outside and third. Brendan Leach is up to 4th. No, he's not. He's in 3rd position. Amazing start from the New Zealander. 3 Oregon cars side by side further back. Somebody really got biffed and moved around. Maybe it was Shandorf, actually, who ended up sideways in the middle of the pack. Brendan Leach trying to shut the door on Dan Arrow, but can't get it done quite yet. Another bit of elbowing as they come into the stadium section now. And Leach now finally has 3rd position, but what a start from 6th spot. Arrow tries to go around the outside. That's surely not going to happen. All this fighting is allowing Spinelli off into the distance. De Wilde 2nd, Leach 3rd, Arrow 4th. Shandorf, apparently, our timing screen saying in 5th position. I think he's behind Soderstrom. Need to have a look again at that 2nd turn, because it really scrambled the pack. Over the line for the first time then. Spinelli, De Wilde, Leach, Arrow, Shandorf, Soderstrom, Orochiev up into 7th. Bonduelle, Pla, Stadbader is your top 10. And so our race 1 winners have lost a position. Orochiev up 5 spots. Pla up 5 spots into 9th. Jim Platt suddenly finding himself a bit more comfortable with a Super Trofeo car. As Fabi looks down the inside of 17th position there. But look at this. Spinelli is in a different league to everybody else. De Wilde kind of maybe holding up Brendan Leach here just a little bit. And Dan Arrow recognises that as well. Side by side, a bit further back, as I think Orochiev and Soderstrom getting into each other. It's very, very tight, though. Or at least for 2nd position, it's very tight. As Spinelli checks out in the distance. He wants to build as big a gap as possible for when he hands over to Andrei Lewandowski. Spinelli, a Pro-Am competitor, but the pro driver in that car right now. Then it's pro, and then Frederick Shandorf is the pro driver also in 5th position. He'll be handing over to Alex Au, who was very, very disappointed in race 1, but I think the answer was when the car ended up expiring. That was where the pace was. It was a car that was a little bit lame. Now with a new engine, Shandorf in 5th, 2nd in Pro-Am. Orochiev in 7th is the 3rd in Pro-Am, and then Jim Platt is 9th position. That's the 3rd lap completed, remember, because the first slow tour was included as a lap. Lots of shaking out going on at the back of the field. I think we've had a spin from Fabi Locanto, very, very far back. As Orochiev gets his way past Bonduelle. Bonduelle fights back and gets back past into 7th position. And actually, we have lost Fabi from our timing screens, I think. Hasn't completed that last lap, the number 50 machine. No, he's got a problem with his transponder. That's what's going on. De Wilde. Brendan Leach on his tail. Seemed so very relaxed when we saw him at lunch. Brendan Leach, considering he had had his most disappointing race of his season, still with a big New Zealand smile on his face. Why is it that so many New Zealanders just seem happy all the time? I love it. I want a bit of it. Spinelli, 5.1 the gap. Last lap is up to 5.3 now. Leach, Arrow, Schandorf, Soderstrom, Bonnell. And here is Bonduel on the back of Soderstrom. He's shaken off the attention of Orogiev, and I reckon Jim Platt might be on the tail of Orogiev soon enough. As Amory Bonduel crawls all over the back of Oliver Soderstrom. Soderstrom feeling like he needs to go defensive here for target. Bonduel round the outside, can't find a way through. Maybe the switchback might work, where you get better drive out of the corner because you've started wider. Amory Bonduel really throwing that gold shiny machine around, trying to put Oliver Soderstrom off. It's really hard to do anything in this last part of the lap. Some of the pros saying at lunchtime that it's probably the hardest track they've been to in terms of passing, especially this last sector. There just isn't anywhere. And some of the corners in the middle part of the lap, you turn in and brake at the same time. So you don't necessarily have a door open at very many places. But Bonduel can see Schandorf, Arrow, Leach up the road, disappearing. And he feels as though he's being held up by Oliver Soderstrom here. On the podium. Actually, both of them were on the podium in race one, weren't they? Spinelli with a 33.2. Boom, 6.5 faster than anybody else right now. That is just another level, isn't it? His hand position is so very curious. Half the time he's only got one hand on the wheel. So relaxed in that car. Concentration is still there. And he doesn't blink. There's a huge amount of lock that goes on, and it's all arms and elbows, isn't it? Look at that. Left hand kind of hanging around on the bottom of the steering wheel. Changing gear with his little finger. Flashes over the start line, checks to the right-hand side to see if anyone's left a pit board out for him to have a look at. Meanwhile, our other onboard camera car, Colombani, down in 24th position. And I think they've just dropped. No, not according to this timing screen. Maybe it'll catch up in a second, but they have not made much progress after a really strong race one. Spinelli, 7 to the good over De Wilde now. Ugo De Wilde. Hello to father if he's watching on the stream. Maybe he's here this weekend. 1 second ahead of Brendan Leach in third. Arrow's a second back from that. There are equidistant gaps you can see. Then Frederick Schandorf. There's Bonnell, Soderstrom, Orogiev, Platt. Gosh, and then a big group of cars. very, very closely together. Difficult to pick out the battles, isn't it, really? Because they all are so close. There is less than a second between every single car, between Bonduelle, in 6th and Peugeot-Bea in 14th spot. That is quite remarkable. As we now ride on board with Colombani. Look how tight this left-hander is. You almost have one hand as you're then re-accelerating the car out of that second hairpin. As you try and get the lock off, you can see how challenging it could be. Beautifully done by Laura Spinelli, absolutely inch perfect through Campagnano. Now he goes, well, he's through Sorate and into Semaforo, part of the original 1951 layout. Tornatino is this very slow left-hander, and then through the S, up until 1970, tackled in the opposite direction. And then Roma is the final turn. There is De Wilde, Leach, Arrow, Schandorf, Bonduelle, all running. Oh, mistake from Dan Arrow. Mistake from Dan Arrow. Here comes Frederick Schandorf trying to go around the outside. Dan Arrow shuts the door on him to make sure he doesn't lose a position there. Schandorf has to get out the power. And Bonduelle ends up right with them. So suddenly, from nothing, we have a battle for 4th position here. All from a little mistake. Didn't really see what happened to Dan Arrow there. Just maybe lost the rear end fractionally through the S's. Had to get out the throttle to correct. And suddenly it bunched the 3 of them together. Dan Arrow, part Indonesian, part Dutch. Vigil, he's also known as. I think I'll stick to Dan Arrow, thank you. And plenty of racing to his name. Obviously partnering Abby Eaton. Most famous not for beating me in Mazda's 10, 12 years ago, but for being the Grand Tour pet driver. I think that's the right way of putting it. And of course also racing in W Series, a very successful lady racer trying to make a team. And that is why this car is not necessarily run by Bonaldi, but Rebellio. And hoping that that Rebellio team will end up being a fully fledged team rather than just a name in 2024. I have to say, they do a really good job of the livery on that car. Very, very attractive. Brendan Leach has now got a bit of breathing space because of that mistake from Dan Arrow. It's not usual we see Dan Arrow making mistakes. They've had a good season, Dan and Abby. In the end, just one podium at the Nürburgring. So if it finishes this way, they would get another one. But I have to say, there's a lot of racing still to be done. Dan will be a little bit frustrated with that error. So many different ways to approach this last sector of the lap. Of course, these pro drivers will have set the traction control far less than we saw from the AM and the Lamborghini Cup guys. So they like the car moving around a lot more, but it does mean a lot more work for the driver himself to do. Through the final turn, trying to be as smooth as possible as helmets begin to be done up down in the pit lane. It's going to be very, very tight, I think, between Dan Arrow, Frederick Schandorf and Amaury Bonduelle, as well. We're not going to expect to see Spinelli into the pits for another 10 minutes at least. No chance that that's going to change. Now, weirdly, we've got under investigation number 81, which is Frederick Schandorf. Track access under investigation. So does that mean that they went onto the circuit in a different manner? They were, or would have been, working to the very last moment to get the engine into the back of that car. And I wonder whether they didn't access the circuit correctly. Great story when they used to go racing back in the 1960s at Spa-Francorchamps. The Americans first came over. They didn't know where the circuit was, and came over, arrived at the circuit so late at night. It was very, very dark, and so they parked up at a fuel station, as was kind of protocol back in the 1960s. And then when they woke up, they heard racing cars on the circuit, but eventually located the circuit, and it was free practice, so they jumped onto the circuit. They never made it to the paddock. They were actually halfway round the lap, but they started practice anyway. Spinelli now up to 10 seconds. Over 10 seconds faster than this man, De Wilde, in 12 laps. That's nearly 1 second faster per lap than anybody out on circuit. Spinelli is in another world, and that really doesn't bode very well for the remaining 28 cars, because we're racing here again on Thursday, we're racing here again on Friday, and we're racing here for the World Finals. Spinelli, if he's like this, the rest of the pro drivers need to have a big head scratch. I saw there was a simulation centre inside the paddock area, and I know that the guys that make Assetto Corsa Competizione are only about 15 kilometres away, so perhaps some of the pro drivers can get themselves some simulator work between now and when they next get out on circuit, perhaps on Wednesday, because they need to have an answer for Spinelli right now, and they do not. De Wilde. 11 seconds back, but in second position and 2.5 clear of Brendan Leach. So that is strong. It's been a really good stint from De Wilde. And if you remember, in race one, they had quite bad damage to that car, so it wouldn't have felt particularly nice. And then they got the penalty for the contact with Brendan Leach. So this is really what they need in this second race. And they know that they're going to be handing over to Ricardo Testa soon as well. Right, the pit lane has been open for a minute, and actually Amaury Bonduelle early into the pits, Söderström and Stadbacher as well. Now Stadbacher is going to hand over to Matteo Michelotto, who's pretty much the only other Italian who is of a starring role other than Spinelli. Amaury Bonduelle not sharing the car with anybody, so he just stays for not for 93 seconds, but his total pit stop needs to be 90 seconds. Balthazar gets out, Moretti jumps aboard that car, had a slow puncture in race one. But don't expect that car to go into the pits anytime soon. They're going to be waiting a while, methinks. Having to wait a long time for the front to bite there. You could hear him waiting off throttle. So Bonduelle, the 28, was the first car into the pits. Now, should be on circuit, although he's going to lose a position to the number 9 because the two of them came in together, and the number 9, their pit stop needs to be 3 seconds faster than Bonduelle. So actually Bonduelle looks to me like he might have lost 2 spots, both to the number 9 and to the number 6. So Michelotto ahead of Bonduelle. And it's Larginelli who was on the... Larginelli was on the podium as well. That was an unsafe release for Zonzini. Goes out onto circuit. So we've got in the number 9 Larginelli, in the number 6 Michelotto, and obviously Bonduelle still in the 28. That is a very important little battle now. They are somewhere in the middle part of the lap. I'm just trying to see. I think they've got a lot of traffic, to be honest. And that is what Spinelli will be trying to avoid. Soderstrom, Michelotto, Bonduelle. Coming round the final turn now. And actually they are behind De Wilde, but De Wilde hasn't pitted, so they're 1 lap back from that. 13th, 14th and 15th. And they have Brendan Leach just ahead of him as well, so that's quite interesting that they are absolutely losing a full lap. And I suppose that makes sense because a lap is 1:34 and they have to be 90 seconds in and out of pit. So there's Brendan Leach going through the shot. He's a lap ahead of the white car that he's battling in the championship with, that white car that wants to go faster, but Brendan Leach is a lap ahead. And so there's absolutely no reason why he should let him through, especially considering that, yeah, because there are a whole lap difference between the two. Now, at the moment, the number 6 of Michelotto, who usually would be actually fighting with Brendan Leach on track, is trying to keep with the number 9 of Larginelli. But Larginelli's got ahead of Brendan Leach, and Michelotto is behind, and then you've got Bonduelle, who is also part of that battle. Now, Brendan peels out of that battle, which I don't know whether I would have done. I think I might have just sat there for a bit longer. He was doing quite a good job of being a cork for Michelotto. Now, Michelotto's released, and not just released in terms of being held up by Brendan Leach, but also released in terms of actually chasing down Larginelli. And I think once Brendan does his pit stop, there's a little mistake there from Larginelli. He's going to find himself right back in this fight once the pits have finished. Fascinating stuff in this middle part of the race. It's all for, at the moment, 11th, 12th and 13th spot, but everybody else ahead haven't pitted. De Wilde is now in the pits, number 10. Leach is in the pits, so he's got a longer pit stop. He'll lose more time to De Wilde. But actually, where will this little battle end up once the guys ahead have all done their stops? With the pace that they're pushing right now, I think they could be right up there. Michelotto does look like he wants to get on with things, doesn't he? They can't look through there. That might work on an AM driver, but it doesn't work in pros. You can't put off a guy ahead of you, but look at Mattia Michelotto. Absolutely all over the back of Larginelli. Manuel Bonduelle needs to get into this fight very, very quickly. Who was that coming out of the pits? I think I think that was a bad marker because we should be seeing Brendan Leach out the pits now. Yes, he is. So Brendan Leach is further up the road. So these guys are behind Brendan Leach. They're also behind the number 10 of Ricardo Testa. As now Schandorf and Cabarrus come into the pits. Well, this is a fascinating battle. Teammates have not had a particularly strong run of things. And now it's time. Oh, here he goes. A very, very late move there from Matteo Michelotto. A bit too late, perhaps. Runs off the circuit. And surely there's an opportunity to fight back here for Largimali. No, he can't do it. Amaury Bonduel fancies a chance to go round the outside. I'm not sure that's going to work much, but maybe gives it an opportunity into the next hairpin. Largimali is conscious of that. But now Ali's going to have to really pounce because there's no chance that in pure pace alone he can keep up with Matteo Michelotto, who's already checked outlook. And they are going to come across the Schandorf and Cabarrus cars. Fredrik Schandorf handing over to Alex Au. That's a Pro-Am lineup, so Alex Au would be expected to be caught by these guys. Now, Abby Eaton also, the number 33, is jumping aboard that car now. Okay, so she's having her pit stop done. We've only got 50 seconds left before the pits shut. I tell you what, Spinelli, we're on board with him now, is going to have to get on with things here. 40 seconds remaining. He's into the stadium section, but it's going to be 10 seconds, perhaps? He really is cutting it fine. He's had clear track for the most part. Hasn't been held up. Massive advantage. And we'll soon see exactly what the order is post pit stops. Dan Arrow handing over to Abby Eaton. She must be being released out of the pits any moment as Spinelli comes in. Now we know, guaranteed, that Spinelli is handing over to Lewandowski, and Lewandowski is going to lead the race. There's Abby Eaton at the bottom, a shot though, coming out the pits. Where is she going to come out in relation to Ricardo Testa and Brendan Leach? There's the sound of Testa going past the pits. And there is the sound of Brendan Leach coming out the pits. And I think Abby Eaton is right behind Brendan Leach for third. Lewandowski jumps aboard the car. Spinelli out. They'll take their time about these things. And this is why we have that big, chunky 90-second pit stop, so it can be chilled. So there's no need to rush. Make sure the seatbelts are nicely tightened. They're all in the right places. And that is all easily done. Right, Testa is second position then. Anyone around him? No, nice and clear. So he's got a good advantage over Brendan Leach. 4.4 seconds is the advantage over Brendan Leach. And say Testa here is still in the S's as Lewandowski exits the pits and heads down towards Curva Grande. That is a mammoth advantage for Lewandowski to hold on to now. He shouldn't have any pressure on his shoulders. This should be easy peasy for him. Testa in second position. He's the first man to do the chasing. 4.6 seconds back is Brendan Leach. There's the first. Waiting. It's going to be a long wait because it's 20 seconds or such. There's Testa in second. Now wait for who is behind. Brendan Leach there in third with the lights on. Next man to come into shot will be Mattia Michelotto, who's got himself up into 4th position, 3rd in class, already doing huge damage in his stint, and it's barely started. Wait at the back of shot, we should see him come into shot now. There he is, Mattia Michelotto. He's already cleared Largimali, he's cleared Abby Eaton, who is in 5th position overall, 4th in class. And then you've got Amaury Bonduelle trying to get past Largimali for 6th position. They came across the line absolutely together. Big gaps though. Brendan Leach 18.6 seconds back from the Spinelli car. It's going to reduce for sure because it's a Pro-Am entry. You wouldn't expect it to hold on against all of the pros. If it does, that is quite a spectacular performance for Lewandowski. Their nearest rival, though, is Abakasava and Michel Blanchemin, 9th and 10th, 40 seconds back. So, in terms of the Pro-Am, you can pretty much guarantee that they are good to go. There is no chance, really, that they're going to be caught unless we get a safety car. Leading the pro standings, Ricardo Testa. Thanks to Hugo de Vilder's really, really strong first stint. But Brendan Leach is closing in on him. It's now 4.2 seconds. And Leach needs to step up the pace, of course, because he's got Michelotto chasing him down. There is the Italian. He's done the big moves already. And perhaps the most interesting battle is those 3 cars just behind him, with Abby Eaton, Largimali and Amaury Bonduelle. They're only separated by 2 seconds and they're fighting over 5th spot. Bonduelle still sitting behind Largimali. Ever since they both pitted on the same lap, he hasn't been able to clear. Now the lines start to vary slightly. Look how close he gets coming out of that left-hand hairpin. Great drive. He can do that because he has no pressure from behind. The problem is there's no place to overtake. There's no point. Well, there is a point. You can get closer, but you can't line yourself up for a pass because there's no space for a pass. The next opportunity is really turn 4 down in Chimney 1. And you've got to go through the final turn, you've got to go through Curva Grande. Have a bit of confidence over that horrible bump in Curva Grande. I don't know if you've noticed that. And then here is your opportunity to go down the inside. And a little bit squirrely from Amaury Bonduelle on the brakes. So, 0.9 of a second penalty for Largimali. 0.4 of a second, sorry, 0.9 of a second penalty for Michelotto. 0.4 of a second penalty for Largimali. We've got a lot of people not pitting correctly. 1.2 as, a big lock up there from Largimali in defending of Amaury Bonduelle and still holds on, still stays ahead. But they are giving Abby Eaton a bit of an easy time of things here. She's got a 1 second penalty for incorrect driver change time. They've all been a bit too tight. Ali sits in the middle of the road. Bonduelle sweeps to the outside to get better drive out of the turn. The good thing also about the way he's approaching that corner is you're not asking as much of the rear tyre. You can be straighter when you accelerate, and therefore you're not leaning on the edges as much. And that will pay dividends at the end of the race. Largimali, he's desperate to try and pass Abby Eaton. That's what he's wanting to do. But he's torn between focusing on overtaking ahead and not being driven into defending too much from behind. Bonduelle strong through those 2 chimney corners. Interestingly, Moretti behind, faster over the last couple of laps. And so that Oregon team car is being drawn into this battle. Oh, Abby Eaton, big mistake, drives completely off the road. Hands a position to Largim Ali, gets herself in the sandwich between this two mammoth fight. And Bonduel's going to go down the inside of that. Thank you very much. Doesn't need to be held off whatsoever. Abby Eaton's going to be kicking herself for that one. Just got herself a little bit too deep into Campagnano. Oh, that's a late dive. That's a late dive down the inside from Bonduel, and he makes it stick and bullies Largim Ali off the road. But Ali could not get his nose into the corner. You don't see many passes at Tonantino unless you're on a motorbike, but it's been done here by Amaury Bonduel, and Bonduel now could just clear off. Michelotto has got himself 10 seconds advantage in what, 15 minutes on this battle? Michelotto is cleared off, got himself a podium right now. I don't expect Largim Ali to do the same, or Amaury Bonduel, but they have both cleared Abby Eaton. And now the next man to pounce, it will be Moretti. It does seem as though pouncing is the way to do it here. It's all about kind of tricking the guy in front into a mistake. It's not the most conventional way of overtaking. And again, Abby Eaton really struggling under brakes into Campagnano. Same thing she did a lap ago. Wasn't quite as dramatic this time, but she can't get the nose in. She can't get turned in. She ends up in the mid-corner with a bundle full of understeer, and the car wanting to drive off into the gravel trap rather than take the corner. Moretti moving around in the rear mirrors of Abby Eaton. Eaton needs to hold the inside line here because he's going to fire it down the inside. Come on, I could see that one coming. Sometimes you can open the door and then fight back. Accelerate out the corner better by having that big, wide, sweeping move, but not there because the S's are too tight. Moretti moving himself up then into 7th. Abby Eaton down to 8th. Good battle on track. 10 minutes remaining left of the race. The gap between Lewandowski and Testa is 7.6 seconds, 6.9 now. It doesn't matter if Lewandowski doesn't win this race. Look how chilled he looks. I love the open face. That is going to be quite a shot for the weekend. Watching all those facial expressions from Andrei Lewandowski. And here's a nice super slow-mo of Moretti, four-wheel drifting his way through turn 9 and on towards Semiferrano. Didn't really do much there, but like that one, I'm surprised that Largim Ali didn't chop his nose off. Bonduel absolutely sent it and was a long way back when he did, and then wasn't particularly polite at the end of it. It's a really cool camera angle to see exactly the kind of send that these guys are doing to get down the inside there, because they need to. There needs to be a go-kart pass. It needs to basically be sit on the apex with absolutely no speed so the other guy can't get it. So the other guy has to go round the outside of you. But you do have to have a bit of trust in that the guy in front of you isn't going to turn in. And I have to say, some of them that we've seen this afternoon have been a little bit touch and go as to whether they would have made it or not. .4 now, the gap. I hope that the team are not going to try and force Andrei Lewandowski into the victory here, because that could be disastrous. He's got 50-second gap over Abakazava, the second of the Pro-Am cars. Actually, there's a battle going on between Abakazava and Michel Blanchemain for second in Pro-Am, but it's 50 seconds back from the lead. And even if Adrian Lewandowski doesn't take the checker flag first, he'll still get those full points, and so the team needs to be careful. There is Tester. Still has a decent advantage of 3.2 over Brendan Leach. Leach will be happy with that. Leach is very good at just settling for what he's got each time. Nearest championship rival is still behind him, even though Michelotto is still taking time out of Brendan Leach. They're going to get themselves a third position, so that is an improvement on that earlier year performance where their second races were hemorrhaging points over Brendan. And then there's a big old gap to Bonduelle in 5th position. Largamali, Moretti and Abby Eaton 8th. And then the Brazilian Ibrahim in 9th, with Abakazava and Blanchemain battling over 10th position, 1 second between them, and that's the final 2 podium spots on the Pro-Am podium. So I kind of like that for a little battle. And interestingly, they do have Tribodini as well, and Berto with them, so they've got 2 faster cars behind them. Still 5 minutes for Lewandowski to hold on. Well, hold on to the victory overall. How bothered will he be? I'm not so sure. And actually, Tester just needs to make sure that he doesn't lose a massive chunk of time if he does end up trying to pass Lewandowski. Right, here's this battle between Abakazava. Michel Blanchemain is that next car. Actually, a little bit of a gap between them. And now we've got a bit of a fight behind. So Tribodini, Berto, and the number 7 car is Valkyra. Jelmer Berman's at the back of this group as well. I mean, I can't believe that Jelmer Berman is 15th and just not surging through. He's in the all green car that's not really troubling this lot. And while the gap was only a second between Abakazava and Blanchemain just a few moments ago, Blanchemain is dropping back a little bit now from Abakazava. And so for Pro-Am, it's not quite as tasty as I thought it would be. Blanchemain, a long-time partner of Jim Pla in GT4 and in GT3 a little bit. They came back to GT4 at the end of the year. Don't know if we've seen them racing in Super Trofeo before. I don't think we have, because I don't think Jim Pla's done a huge amount of driving outside of the Mercedes brand. Oh, there's Jelmer Berman sticking his nose in. Should have a nice drive out of the corner alongside Valkyra, and that's a pass made. That is how you pass at the S's, but you really do need to be fully alongside to do it. Berman actually is 4th in class here, and Abakazava is 2nd in class, just 3 seconds up the road. So, all right, we've only got 3 minutes remaining, but if that green car can pass the blue car at the front of shot, he'll suddenly find himself on the podium. Not actually as bad as I initially thought. 3 minutes to go. Lewandowski ahead of Tester by 1.6 seconds. Brendan Leach being brought into the mix a little bit, maybe. Michelotto, the gaps are pretty much the same, not a massive change. We might see Largimali lose another position, but from the Oregon and Moretti. That's 6th position, just 0.6 of a second between the two of them. The lead now down to 1.1 with 2 laps remaining. Has Testa got enough time? They've already got the full points for Pro. How much do they want and how much do they need to get past Lewandowski here? Andre Lewandowski, as I said at the start of the show, with championships in AM to his name over the last couple of years, he will love the fact that he can stay ahead of all these pro drivers. I just noticed that Jelmer Berman up another position. Berman is only a second off, getting up to 2nd in Pro-Am. So whilst we watch the leader of Pro-Am lead the race, a minute back, would you believe, is a mammoth battle for 2nd in Pro-Am. Oh, Lewandowski running a bit too wide through there. It's going to hold on. We've got a car off on the outside. That's the Vandenberg car. So that's Dad Vandenberg this time, I think, was off the road. Was off the road in race 1 with Son. Coming round the final turn. 1 more lap to go. Can Andre Lewandowski hold on? I'm sure he will be desperate to. He also needs to be a little bit realistic that he has a pro driver breathing down his neck, and he is an AM. And the more that Testa sits there, the more that Brendan Leach gets closer as well. Into the braking zone at Chimney 1. There's no space there. But Testa can't afford to sit behind him now. Testa's going to get massive pressure from Brendan Leach. He needs to get past Lewandowski. Down towards Campagnano. Lewandowski would be happy to help his teammate behind because Matteo Michelotto is his teammate, but he runs a bit deep, he runs wide into Campagnano, what we saw from Abbey Eaton a bit earlier on, and Testa's gone in ahead. There's been a massive change in that battle for 10th position. I think Blanchemain is off the road, so it's all changed for 2nd in Pro-Am, as Brendan Leach now bullies his way past to try and get up into 2nd position. But could Brendan Leach send it for the lead of this race with 2 corners to go? Is he close enough? No, is the answer. That is it, no more opportunities. Jelmer Berman has got himself up into 2nd position, would you believe, in the Pro-Am standings. It has all massively changed. I wonder if we'll get a replay of it at the end of the race, because it's completely different to what we saw when we last checked in. But Ricardo Testa has held on and has taken victory in the pro category and in the race ahead of Brendan Leach. With Lewandowski in 3rd position overall, but Matteo Michelotto 3rd in pro standings. And here is the battle for everything else. Look how manic it is. It's been like this since we left it. Jelmer Berman, where is Jelmer Berman in all of this? Well, I think he's actually up the road because the green car is not there. Oh, a little bit of contact there. We've got Pro-Ams and we've got pros in this battle. We've got cars that are being lapped as well. That is Berto in the Oregon machine. Everyone now needs to behave as they come past the slower car. But Jelmer Berman is, I hope, in front. Oh, not in the last corner, surely. How do you do that? Unbelievable stuff. A sandwich of cars through the final turn. Jelmer Berman it is who gets 2nd. And 3rd goes to Pecoraro in the number 14. Who did it in the last corner. I think we need a replay of the whole of the last 2 laps of that battle, because it all changed about 15 times. Now there's going to be a lot of penalties that need to be applied to all those that didn't pit at the right time or didn't do their pit stops in the right amount of time, I should say. So Berman finished in 10th position, second in class. Pecoraro was 12th, and he was third in class, ahead of Pavarud, and they actually ended up coming across the line at the same time. Abacazava dropped from second to fourth on the last lap. The lap before that, Blanchemain dropped from second down to, I think, 6th or 7th in class, because so number 92 got bullied out. And so let's see what exactly has gone on. There is Abacazava being sandwiched, and round the outside is Pecoraro. So those are 3 Pro-Am cars together. Coming to the line, it is the Oregon machine definitely ahead. So Pecoraro ahead of Pavarud and Abacazava 0.3 back. But that happened through Roma Curva, and nobody overtakes there. That's unbelievable. What happened the lap before to get Berman up from 4th to 2nd? Who knows? Number 99 has been given a penalty for causing a collision. And that was a 99 collision with 42. So Fremut, and number 99, who I can't see on my timing screen. One thing we did miss completely, and I don't know when it happened, Frederick Schandorf retired and never handed that car over to Alex Au. So they must have had an installation problem with Schandorf's car, and that was a disaster for their championship. We didn't see that, did we? Sure we didn't see that. We missed it anyway. Riccardo Testa then grabbing all of the celebrations down there at Iron Links. And this is how he did it. To be honest, Pro versus Am, it was likely to happen, but Riccardo Testa needed to do that because Brendan Leach was breathing down their necks. This was what it would look like on board. How frustrated was Lewandowski? Didn't look too bad. You can see how much he was muscling the car. And then Testa taking checkered flag ahead of Brendan Leach. Lewandowski holding on for 3rd position just ahead of Michelotto, and the championship fight continues.
But the second driver pushed me out and don't get.
Now relax.
But you know, I don't want to lose our, the champion, and that's why. I can a little fight,
many points on.
Yeah,
Chandler had a drive-through, so.
Dobrze, dobrze. Ale śmiejesz się na tej kamerze cały czas.
Śmieję się?
Tak, to jest taki łagodny, jak jedziesz, to się śmiejesz, wiesz? Teraz nie wylewaj szampana, przyjdziesz.
So Abacazava apparently had a collision with Michel Blanchemain. That's where Blanchemain ended up dropping down the field. This is the classification after penalties have been applied. So Testa and Ugo de Wilde taking victory ahead of Brendan Leach, with Spinelli and Lewandowski in 3rd position and best of the Pro-Ams. Michelotto and Stad Bader 4th. Bonduel, Balthazar and Moretti your top 6. And then just all that madness, basically, with Berman 10th, Valcra 11th, Pecoraro, Pavarud, Abacazava, Zonzini, Malone, they were all together. Blanchemain ended up in 21st position. That'll be disappointing because they really did a really good job. As I said, a retirement from Schandorf. I don't know, that must have happened during the pit stop or something because it just slipped our attention. But that's a disaster when it comes to their championship fight. And they came here fighting with Lewandowski and Spinelli for the championships. They get the full points. Schandorf and Au get none. So then, as the sun begins to shine over Valencia, where are we? We're in a different country. It still begins with V. Vallelunga. We can finally put our feet up and say, day done. There's Hugo de Wilde, the Belgian, chatting to Brendan Leach. And Brendan really did do a very good job. There's Stephen, media man. Doesn't realise he's in shot, does he? Stephen, talk to the drivers. Get some quotes. It's kind of cool having the podium overlooking the paddock, because it really does draw the attention of the mechanics as well and all the work that they do. Lewandowski and Spinelli then firm up their lead in the championship. I'm pretty sure it will be a lead in the championship after today, because Lewandowski and Spinelli scoring little. Young Berman getting some points eventually at the end, but Martin Rieber and Liberati with no points over the weekend either. Colombili and Zonzini, where were they at the end? Down in 16th overall. So yeah, the Pro-Am turned on its head. I think the Am is just a lot tighter. Balthazar, though, the real loser of the weekend, the number 61 car. Balthazar Moretti picks up points for fifth position, but they were, or had been, in touch with Stad Bader and Michelotto, and I think over today they will have lost that. Maybe even passed, probably not, by Bonduelle. Well, we've got all the drivers up there. I'd like to hear the story from Jelmer Berman of how he managed to suddenly get himself up into second position, because it really didn't look like he was going to have any chance at all until the very, very last lap, or last two laps anyway, wasn't it? Contact between Abou-Kazaba and Blanchemain, who were second and third at that time. That pushed Blanchemain down to 21st. Kept Abou-Kazaba up there until Abou-Kazaba got absolutely mugged by Pecoraro and Pavarud going through the final turn. There are a couple of things that I've never seen in motorsport that have happened today. Crashed through Curva Grande in the Am race, and an overtake through Roma in this one. A three-wide overtake as well, not just any old overtake. Right then, let's get this podium done. That is round 5 of the championship done and dusted. What should have been round 1 is now done, renamed as round 5. And now we go back to plan A, which was, of course, to finish the championship at the World Finals venue and then have the World Finals over the weekend. We will be welcoming our European competitors once more on Thursday and Friday for their round 6, as well as the Asian and American championships of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo. They will have their rounds 6 as well. Brendan Leach, Stad Bader and Matteo Michelotto are the standout 3 of this year's championship here in Asia, and they'll be fighting for their championship next Thursday and Friday. Well, finals action on Saturday and Sunday. Make sure you join us across all of our social channels and on our live stream, where we'll be finding out who is the best Lamborghini Super Trofeo driver of 2023, including a few star names, no doubt. Of course, Lamborghini moving into LMDH next year for Le Mans. GT3 cars, potentially also in the GT3 category. Then you've got the GT3 Stable Championship of the SRO. So many more opportunities for these pro drivers to move on up through the ranks of Lamborghini racing to become a Lamborghini Works driver, as I think Jelmer Berman was, or is, for a few years. Now the champagne can spray. They've got a few days yet before they need their overalls covered once more. Well done to our pro competitors. But perhaps the biggest well done is reserved for our Pro-Am victors, because they really were in a class of their own. Yeah, okay, Lewandowski didn't end up winning the race overall, but he is an Am driver. Spinelli on another planet. Is it Planet Spinelli, Vallelunga, for next week as well? Lewandowski will certainly hope so. As we said at the top of the show, multiple victories for both Andre Lewandowski and for Loris Spinelli. There is Berman and Schondeverd. Spinelli and Lewandowski. And their national anthem.
Complimenti ai vincitori di questa classe Pro-Am, a premiare ancora una volta Federica Tenenci per
Just one world finals victory to Loris Spinelli's name. Was back here in Vallelunga in 2018 with Colombian Juan Perez. That was in the Pro-Am category. Lewandowski has done it twice. In Am last year and in Pro-Am back in 2019. And there's no doubt that Loris Spinelli will be happy to do it again. First, they need to wrap up the European Championship on Thursday and Friday. and then the World Finals across the weekend. Please make sure you join us here from Vallelunga. It's going to be exceptional motorsport. A full day of action for you on Thursday, a full day of action for you on Friday, and then afternoon's worth of racing across the weekend for the World Finals here in Vallelunga. But from round 5 of Europe, bye-bye for now.